Good afternoon. Thank you for choosing THV 11 for your news at noon. Let's take a look at some of the stories we're tracking. Now at noon, a close look at government efforts to crack down on the illegal trade of fentanyl across the country and right here in Arkansas. Many of us are heading into the weekend and to the nail salon. But before you go,
new concerns about popular drying devices used in nail salons. I'm Danya Backus with the latest research.
And yesterday, the list of nominees for the British Academy Film Awards dropped. We'll let you know which films are leading the pack and much more in entertainment news at 12:22. But first, Friday. Meteorologist Scott Covert is here. And Scott, listen, I can't contain my excitement. We made it to the weekend. And do you have some good weather to go along with my good mood?
Well, we have a bit of a mixed bag of a forecast. I'll tell you, today's not going to be a bad day. In fact, a pretty typical January day in Arkansas. Temperatures are cool enough outside here at the noon hour that you probably want a jacket if you're about to head out the front door. Take a look at this. You'll notice Little Rock is currently sitting at 51 degrees, Conway at 50, and you're noticing we've got some warmer temperatures in parts of southern Arkansas. Your forecast for today takes us to 53, partly sunny skies, just a light breeze out there. All in all, pretty seasonable. Elsewhere across the state, you're going to have some upper 50s in South Arkansas, upper 40s in northeast parts of the natural state. How about that weekend forecast? Unfortunately, it does come with a chance of rain. Not a washout, but enough that you're going to want to know about it. Coming up, I'll break down when you need that rain gear and what we've got on tap for next week, which here's a hint. Looks like we could see some winter weather. More details on that coming up.
Thanks, Scott. In a THV 11 update this afternoon, 15-year-old Tyler Bland is now due back in court in 2 months. Yesterday, during arraignment, Bland's attorney entered his plea of not guilty on one count of capital murder. A judge ordered Bland to be held without bond. Bland is charged as an adult in the deadly shooting at Big Country Chateau Apartments the day after Christmas. He was on the run for weeks and was eventually caught by U.S. Marshals on Wednesday. Police say they're also looking into the possibility of charging him with a second murder, but they still haven't released details. Richard Barnett, the Arkansas man who propped his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk during the January 6 riots, is taking the stand this week. And one of the big questions answered Thursday was why he did it. He told jurors he was just, quote, going with the flow at the time, but now regrets it. Jordan Fisher, an investigative reporter at our D.C. sister station, says he saw Barnett showing a range of emotions and seeming genuine in his regret. He claims he was pushed into the U.S. Capitol, and once he was inside, he went to look for a bathroom. That's when he says he unintentionally walked into Pelosi's office, where a news photographer told him to act natural. So he lunged back in the chair and flung his legs on top of the desk. Barnett also wrote a crude letter to Pelosi while in her office reading, "Big O was here." That's his nickname. And that incident could be talked about more when he returns to the stand later today. Now, meanwhile, an Arkansas teacher is in jail today after being arrested for sexual assault of student. Lindsay Hill works in the Pottsville School District, which is just east of Russellville. She's facing charges of sexual assault. The Pottsville superintendent released a statement saying they are aware of the allegation and are working with the police in the investigation. Now to an up-close look at government efforts to crack down on the illegal trade of fentanyl. A CBS News crew followed federal agents Thursday as they raided a suspected fentanyl lab, possibly run by cartels trying to distribute the drug on U.S. streets instead of importing it. Jeff Pegas was there in Tucson, Arizona.
Before the sun came up, Homeland Security agents gathered ready to raid a Tucson, Arizona home.
Starting to roll.
We were there as they moved in with the help of local police.
Just stay on this side of the marked unit.
Inside they found 100 pounds of what they believe are precursor chemicals or chemicals used to make fentanyl, a drug 50 times more potent than heroin. It's been flooding cities across the country and blamed for thousands of deaths a year. Why is it so hard to stop the distribution?
because there's so many different ways that it can be smuggled into the United States, right? It's coming in through 18-wheelers, it's coming in through passenger vehicles, it's coming in through people walking across the border.
According to investigators, China is one of the primary suppliers for these precursor chemicals for fentanyl. And look what's written on this box. But it's harder to track because it's being shipped in smaller amounts. How does that pose problems for law enforcement?
They're not going to raise as much suspicion if they're coming in smaller shipments versus a large bulk shipment.
Last year, law enforcement seized more than 50 million fentanyl-laced pills and over 10,000 pounds of fentanyl powder. That's enough to kill every American.
I don't believe that they're doing everything that they can.
Misty Little's 26-year-old daughter Cheyenne died after swallowing a pill that she didn't know was laced with fentanyl.
I want people to know that Cheyenne was a vibrant young woman that had her whole entire future ahead of her. You know, one bad decision she shouldn't have lost her life over. I want people to know that her life mattered.
The Mexican cartels are always trying to stay one step ahead of U.S. law enforcement, and what was found in that house may be an example of that, because investigators are still testing the chemicals, but they believe that what was in that house may be a fentanyl lab. And now they see those across the country, but they don't see a lot of them, and that's what concerns them. Jeff Begay, CBS News, Tucson, Arizona.
And here in Arkansas, more than $500,000 worth of fentanyl is off the streets thanks to authorities in Polk County. Take a look at your screen. Investigators say that's nearly 5 pounds of fentanyl, about 20,000 pills. The Sheriff's Office and Russellville Police Department worked together on the case, which began as a traffic stop. Now, agents on the case think the pills were meant to be sold in Polk County. Now to the latest from the state capitol. A bill that would change what child pornography cases are called is on its way to the Senate. The bill passed in the House on Thursday. It would replace the term child pornography with child sexual abuse material in the Arkansas Code. The bill now goes to the Senate Judiciary Committee on Monday. Another bill that's getting a lot of attention in Arkansas and around the country would put new restrictions on drag shows. If passed, it would classify drag shows as an adult-oriented business, deeming it a sexual performance and putting it in the same legal category as strip clubs and pornography shops. But there would be exceptions. For example, drag queens reading children's books might not be regulated since it isn't a sexual performance. But for shows that do count, the bill would ban them and any other adult-oriented businesses from being located on public property or anywhere that a person under 18 could see what they're offering. The bill's author, Senator Gary Stubblefield, says he finds this bill necessary.
If there's ever been a day to protect our children, children are being exposed today to things that 30, 40, 50 years ago we couldn't even imagine. We could not even imagine. And it's a shame that we even have to bring a bill up like this to protect our children.
Committee members passed the bill unanimously Thursday, sending it to the Senate floor, where it's scheduled for a vote on Monday. Sunday marks the 50th anniversary of the landmark Roe v. Wade U.S. Supreme Court decision that made abortion rights the law of the land. Now, that ruling stood for 49 years until the Supreme Court overturned the ruling last summer. Anti-abortion activists are taken to the streets for the annual March for Life in Washington, D.C. today. Now, the first march since it was overturned. Willie James Inman is outside the Supreme Court with the story.
The annual March for Life is taking place for the first time since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade.
Protesters on both sides say the fight over rights is not over. It's just simply switched from the courts to Congress and state legislatures.
Marchers are adding a stop this year, walking by the U.S. Capitol, where their abortion rights debate is ongoing.
The only way to restore the protections of Roe is for Congress to pass a national law codifying the right to choose.
But with Congress divided, the most notable fights are taking place in the states. 22 states have already enacted full or partial abortion bans, although some of those have been struck down in the courts. On the other hand, 21 states have enshrined abortion rights into law. Willie James Inman, CBS News, Washington.
Vice President Kamala Harris will commemorate the 50th anniversary of Roe v. Wade with a speech in Florida on Sunday. Now, before you head to your next nail appointment, there's something you need to hear. More on new concerns about UV drying lights in 5 minutes. And one thing we shouldn't be concerned about, well, the sun is shining a little bit, right, Scott? But it's still cold.
Still cool out there, but we do have partly sunny skies here this afternoon, Jurnee. Unfortunately, we're going to find more clouds building in, and well, the weekend, it comes with a chance of rain. I'll break that down. We'll even take a peek out into next week, which we could find some winter weather. The latest on that coming right up when we return.